Welcome back to Turning the Mirror podcast. This is Owuoth Kabok and my co-host Olengo Kwach, and this is where we bring you the lenses of politics, the view and the perspective that is not covered in any other place. Recently, just in 2024, we saw the former deputy president Rigathi Gachagua being impeached from office. Among other allegations, we had corruption, we have tribalism and other things. And the question is, was this man just sacrificed, or it was an abduction that was in a clean sheet? And now this is what we want to explore and discover today. And my first question to you, Kwach, do you think this man Rigathi Gachagua was worth being in Kenya Kwanza government?
When the government was being made, when this coalition was being built, he was worth. Because one, he had resources. Campaigns require resources. And so Gachagua was a serious force when it comes to resource mobilization. Number two, Gachagua is one man who speaks. You tell him to speak, he will speak.
Yeah.
So remember, the then sitting president, now former, had a candidate. And he was trying to lure the mountain into supporting his candidate. So the only option these guys had was to find someone with a hard stance to counter the then sitting president force within the mountain.
Okay.
So of course Gachagua was worth then.
And we know this person, Gachagua, and his personality, you know, what people say a lot about him, but most people doesn't really know who he really is. He's this man who maybe plays with this narrative that he's a truthful man, and a man who is hardcore, and he often say that he's from the Mau Mau, the parents were Mau Mau warriors.
Yeah.
And do you think this played a role in any way, or maybe did it influence anything within the government when he was the deputy president?
Of course it did, because remember when we had issues with the Mau Mau, we had then the then elders trying to form alliances with other politicians. Gachagua came out and said he's a... Actually, even before that, what played out seriously is when the Azimio were holding their Sufuria protests. You remember the Ugali protests?
Yeah.
In 2023, after the finance bill of 2023, during the process when it was still a bill, Gachagua would go to the office. He would report to the office at 5 in the morning to ensure he fights the protests. Remember, at times, William Ruto could even travel, fly out of the country, and leave Gachagua in charge. And he would ruthlessly deal with the opposition. He didn't even care your position, like what could happen even after maybe you are killed or something. So, of course, what he said, his belief, and how he plays around with narratives played a role.
Yeah.
Because by telling people, we don't fear. Because after all, I'm a son and grandson to the Mau Mau. My dad was a Mau Mau, my parent and all that. That would bring in, maybe he would use that to kind of stir some threats to the opposition and those who are protesting. Yeah.
And now the two top allegations for his impeachment were corruption and maybe tribalism. How tribalic is Gachagua and how corrupt is him?
In terms of tribalism, I would say that in as much as there were statements he would make in many occasions that would at times be translated into a man who is very tribal, you know, at times you would have an intended message. You as a person, you would have an intended message. But once you speak it out, you can't control what other people takes of it. So maybe one person will pick it as you intended it to be, another person will pick it as they perceive it.
Yeah.
So there's the intended message and the perceived message. So a good number of people perceived his statements as being tribal because he was kind of championing for, oh, mountain, let us unite. Oh, mountain, let us do this and that. Oh, then our people, we are shareholders, and we are main shareholders in this government. Which in this case, I think he was just being truthful. Because to be sincere, every person, kila mtu akona kwao. Yeah? Even you there's a place you call home. Yeah. There's a place you call home, and anytime you are doing any development or doing something, you'll always think about home. So in as much as, yes, he was a deputy president, and a deputy president needs to be a symbol of unity as well and needs to serve all Kenyans, his statements might have been misinterpreted. Maybe he would have as well meant what he was saying. So in terms of being tribal, I would say that, yes, maybe he's tribal. And even if he's tribal, then if he was supposed to be impeached because of being tribal, then I think Ruto is more tribal than Gachagua. Because look at the appointments in the government, all the way from the cabinet secretaries, before he approached Raila to help him save the situation during the protests when he was just about to be ousted from power, and also before he approached Uhuru recently to try and curb the tension within the Mount Kenya. His appointments from the PSS, head of state agencies, the CSS, actually it was majorly made of people from his region. It's not bad, maybe these people qualified, but then I'm not sure, I can't tell why he only could see maybe people qualified from his own backyard and maybe fail to see people who are qualified from other areas.
Yeah, sure.
Of course, I would not say these people are qualified because they have not delivered. Remember, he has dissolved the cabinet, reappointed them, reshuffled and reshuffled. So it means these people are not performing, so they are not qualified. Again, majority of these people were political. They were like he was rewarding them. He was rewarding them because of the political stance they had before when it comes to his candidature. And so when it comes to tribalism, how William Ruto has been driving his government, the appointments he has been making, and even when he goes home, when he speaks to his people. Because if Gachagua is tribal because of speaking in Kikuyu, when he meets people in Limuru, or meets people in Nyeri, or somewhere within the Mount Kenya, then the president should not speak in Kalenjin when he visits his people. Yeah.
Sure.
And we've seen Ruto speak. It's normal. Even when Raila goes back to Nyanza, he speaks in Luo. Because that is your home. You'll speak in the language that everybody will understand. If you speak in English and Kiswahili, the older generation, there are those who didn't have the opportunity or priority to go to school. So they cannot understand that. In terms of, you are talking about corruption.
Yeah.
If we talk about corruption, again, I'd say maybe the allegations that were put on him might be true, because of course we are not there to investigate. We don't know everything. But then again, I would say if at all the grounds of impeaching him on corruption, then the president is more corrupt than Gachagua himself. We even know it's in the public domain, Weston Hotel here in Nairobi, along Langata Road, just next to Wilson Airport. It's in the public domain, and people keep talking about, oh, this land was grabbed, all this and that. People keep talking about which land, where was grabbed. We even seen CSS trying to protect, oh, he land near president. The CS Wahome then, when she was still in the lands ministry, she was even defending, saying, oh, this plot of land belongs to the president, oh, nini. You see. So, and even look at how he manages everything when it comes to finances, to management of public resources, public assets, and everything. So if Gachagua was to be impeached on the grounds of corruption, then I think the president would have been impeached first. Yeah.
And maybe on those, maybe the fact that you're bringing on board, and what really the case, or maybe what maybe led to his removal from office, and the president maybe financing or maybe fueling the impeachment process? Was it that the president was scared of him in a way, or
I have four things in mind.
Yeah.
Number one, anyway, it was coming. Because remember when Kenya Kwanza was trying to come up with their deputy president or the deputy presidential candidate, the president and many majority preferred Kithure Kindiki, the one who is currently the deputy president. And it took longer before it was decided. And the sayings are that when they settled for Kithure Kindiki, things did not go well because Gachagua demanded a few things. And remember, he had used a lot of resources when campaigning for this candidate. And so because resources were still needed, and you could not think of now still trying to amass to collect some resources to give back, they had no option but to pick Gachagua as the deputy president, based on also other things we've said, like the man who talks. Then, so again, being not comfortable with him from the word go, automatically would want a way to get rid of him in the long run. So that is one of the reasons I would put. The second reason I'd say is that Gachagua was just being too truthful. It's like he was not playing to the script. If they agreed, maybe let's go out there and said, tumetenga na tutafanya na tumeweka. We even remember the deputy president one time in Mount Kenya. He was telling the MP, nimesikia umeniomba. umeniambia, mimi sitaki kuambia nitafanya. Because I don't want to lie. Nikirudi hapa nitakwambia nini. Wacha niseme tunaenda kucheck if the money will allow nini tutapanga. Isipo allow sahi tutapanga hiyo the financial year ingine. So he was just being too truthful. Hataki mambo ya nimetenga, tutaweka, tutafanya. And so he was not playing to the tune of what president wanted. And therefore that is why you could even hear during the inauguration of Kindiki when the president says, I now have one person who would maybe speak the same language as I speak, help me drive the agenda of the government, something that I've missed for the past 2 years. You see. So the president is kind of, he wanted somebody who he would tell do this and does. And Gachagua was maybe not ready for that. And that's why even when now he saw that Haji did not play his role well, he called him out and wanted him to resign. People saw it as a joke. People thought Gachagua just had issues with Haji, but now you've seen the turn of events. Even now the CS for public is speaking and giving accounts that just that Haji actually is part and parcel of those who abducted his son. The third account that I would say is that Gachagua was a tough guy. He is one man who would not be moved around. You would not tell him to do this and he does it because you've said. He would do it because he feels it is right to do it, or maybe he feels it's okay if he does it, but not because you've actually ordered him to do it. So I think being hard, that also made it difficult. Then lastly, we have Gachagua who believed that they were elected in one ticket, and therefore, in as much as yes, this is his boss, this is the principal, but it is the presidency. So their powers are more or less the same. Of course, the boss, but then he's just somewhere here. So being controlled by those who are very close to the president, like the likes of Farouk Kibet, did not go well with him. And he would speak out and speak about it. He would not just be silent and wait for these people to just do anything they want because they are close to the president. So Gachagua is a man, very truthful, who wanted things to run the way they should. Of course, he was also, at some point, a bit, people would perceive him as a bit arrogant because when it came to dealing with opponents, he was ruthless.
Yeah.